Hello, everyone. I'm Mahbub. Hope you all are doing great. And welcome to our session, Meet the Global Leader, organized by School of Entrepreneurship Development. So every week, we try to organize this kind of session to share, like the stories of people from different part of the world, so that we can learn how people are doing things, why they are doing the thing they are doing. So to share the stories and impactful stories with our audience, we welcome guests from different countries, and we believe that our audience will learn a lot from this kind of initiative. So today we have invited Carlijn uh, to our session. So we believe that our audience will learn a lot from her, the things she is doing. And just to let you know what we do, School of Entrepreneurship Development. So we are, like a non-profit organization. Our mission is to discover and spread ideas, so that also share stories of different people around the world. And we are devoted to curiosity, vision, wonder, and the pursuit of knowledge without an agenda. So, Caroline, welcome to our session.
Thank you, Mahbub, and thanks for pronouncing my name correctly. That's rare. Well, thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to have this talk with you and to be on the show. Thank you.
Great. And like the audience are based in Bangladesh, so
Yeah,
they will actually hear you. So, can you introduce yourself in brief?
yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm Carlijn. I am Dutch. I'm 34 years old, and I'm an entrepreneur at heart. I love to fix problems. I love to create things. I love to bring people together to make complex stuff simple. And besides from that, I love exploring, um, other ways of organizing my life or designing my life to make time for the things that really matter to me. Maybe less on the materialistic side and more how I can live in harmony with nature and spend time with friends and family around me. And so I love cats and sunsets and
Great.
learning new things. That's me.
Great. And Caroline, after graduation, how did you start in your career?
Um, give me 1 second. Uh, yeah, I did two masters at the University of Amsterdam on behavioral sciences and organizational psychology. So I love everything people about an organization. And it was actually a time, it was 2012, and it was just after this crisis. It was a time where it was more challenging to find a job in the Netherlands. So a lot of people were saying, but how are you going to do it? How are you going to find a job? And then together with one of my best friends, we decided to start our own company because we liked social media and branding and putting something out there on social media. And we noticed that for a lot of companies at the time, that was really new, the generation gap. And we said, okay, we want to help those companies, those corporates, help to reach the young generation via social media. So that was our first company, which was called Into the Mind. And then we just, created our own work. And sometimes we made enough money and sometimes not. And then we had a very sober week sometimes, or had to call the parents to pay for the rent. But we did it for 3.5 years, and it became quite successful. Yeah.
Great. So, what did you learn? Like in when you started your own organization. What mistake you did at first, and what was the learnings?
And many learnings, many learnings. I think mostly that just to try. You don't have to have it all figured out. Just try and learn by doing. Listen to your customer, what they want, and try things out. See what works. I think that's a big thing we learned, and that you never know how valuable something's going to be later on. So we didn't know that when we started this organization where we connected corporates and young entrepreneurs to create crazy marketing campaigns to reach young generation. We never thought up front that that will make us create a big network within both corporates and entrepreneurs that later became really successful. So we were building a great relationships with people that were so interesting, and we learned so much from all of them. So I think that was for us the big thing, like that it's not, I think the first job or thing you set up, that maybe money shouldn't be your first driver, but should be like just developing your skills and building a network, and making sure you can make enough money to live a bit nicely. But yeah, I think that was our biggest learning.
Great. So, uh, just to talk about a little bit what you are doing right now. So, you're the co-founder and a facilitator of On Purpose Studio. Tell us about a bit what it is and what it is doing for the community.
Yeah. Yeah, I started the On Purpose Studio 3 years ago together with Elena, my co-founder, and the On Purpose Studio is on a mission to empower people to live and lead with intention, on purpose, to intentionally create the ripple effects we all create in a day, whether it's towards ourselves, others, or nature. And I think the biggest challenge for a lot of people and a lot of companies is fear and this ego. We can all get into this ego mode and just be in our own way. And what we do at the On Purpose Studio is to practice to unlearn those ego modes, those limiting beliefs, habits, thoughts. Um, yeah, and that it's really a matter of practicing it together every day, just trying again, trying to be better. That's why it's called the On Purpose Studio. And we do both online programs as well as retreats, and working with teams and companies. Yeah,
Yeah, that's good. And how long have you been doing this?
for 3 years now. Yeah, 3 years. So we
And
start. Yeah.
what do you think about like having to make it successful or to make any initiative successful, the importance having like-minded team members? Or do you see it in how important it is to have like-minded team members
Yeah.
to make any initiative successful?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's important, like-minded. At the same time, it's good to be different, because Elena and I are very complementary. We've been working together in a company I set up before for 4 years. We already worked together, so we knew each other really well. That helps. I think it's very important to trust each other. That's the most important, that you trust each other, and that you have the same intention for setting that up. But we are different. We think differently about things, and that's good. Then we could challenge each other. Um, she really helps the challenge to stay really authentic, to not make it commercial, anything like this. And I could sometimes help to push it, to not give up. Let's say when we first launched, and maybe it's nice to share because I think a lot of entrepreneurs give up easily. When we first built the first online program, so the first leadership program, we launched it in June 2020. And then we had 2 bookings in the beginning. So it was still a month ahead, but we promoted it, and it got a lot of media attention. And then we had 2 bookings only. And I don't know what we're gonna do. And I remember Elena said, like, "Okay, we're not gonna do it, right?" Because we had 2 or 3 weeks left. And I said, we're gonna make it happen. And then we just continue to share stories on LinkedIn, on Instagram. We contacted people directly, and I just went on like spamming mode. And it worked. So the group is max 14 people, and we had 14 people in this first group, and it was really fun. But it's fun to, people don't see that, right? They see, it was a fully booked first program. But actually, 10 days before we launched it, 10 days before it was going to start, we thought of canceling the whole thing because we thought we failed. Yeah.
So what made you motivated people, like you said, like you just said you thought that you guys are almost like about to fail. But
Yeah.
what made you motivated to like going going forward?
Yeah, good question. Because it can be like ego, like I have to prove that it can be happen,
Yeah.
that can happen, right? From my too many meetings today, but my words. But in my case, it was really a deep belief in the concept. I believe so strongly in the principles we spread with On Purpose and how much that is needed right now. And I just felt like we just haven't reached the right people. Like it's just not clear enough because that's the thing. You think as an entrepreneur because you're thinking the whole day about this product or
Yeah.
service that everybody knows. So you promote it twice and then you think everybody knows, but actually people have to see it 5, 6 times to actually read it and then to think about it. And so yeah, that's but I think for me, just a deep belief of this is what I should be doing. Yeah,
Right.
stubbornly.
And how's your organization creating impact in the community or in on people's life? What do you think?
Yeah, yeah. It's amazing to hear. We do a feedback form after the people complete the programs they do with us. But then also we catch up 3 months or 6 months later and to hear the stories. And some people have shifted totally the way they run their business. So from going to from a frustrated micromanager to like not having anger outbursts anymore, taking care of themselves, being able to delegate tasks and just create a very nice working environment that is making impact rather than a super stressful, toxic one. So that is a big thing. But also some people realize through our programs that they're not doing the right thing. So they switch jobs, they switch countries, they switch relationships. It's like big changes happen when you become aware of of how the ego was driving you. So that's for individuals. And then for the teams we work with, it's a lot on helping teams, guiding teams to solve problems faster, to have less ego in meetings, less opinions, less endless discussions, more focused on relevant information. And I think that's the impact we're making. That this to empower people to heal the ecosystems they're in, rather than to continue feeding that toxicity. Whether that's for their bodies, if people make drastic health changes, their relationship with others, or the company they interact. That's our main purpose. That's the purpose of On Purpose, and that's the impact we're making. And we're growing slowly, organically, without investors. Um, but I say more than 200 people have joined our programs individually, and also 20 plus companies have collaborated with us. So yeah, we're growing. So that's really cool.
Right. It's
I want to spread it more, these principles
no,
in
that's
companies.
great. I mean, 200 plus, it's amazing, and 20 plus companies. Yeah, you're growing, and it will exponentially grow. So it's really great. So uh, let's talk about mistakes. I mean, is was there any mistake, career mistake, which has given you the biggest lesson so far?
Tough question. Um, yeah, I think my biggest mistake was to try to prove to my bosses at the time that I was good enough, and I was pleasing all the time. So I was pleasing the clients, over promising, and I was doing as it was expected of me, like really trying to be perfect and do it all like good. Instead of listening to my body, to my heart, and doing it my way. Because sitting at an office from 9 to 6 is not where I'm most productive or where I solve problems or generate the most revenue. That's not how I function. And I learned that mistake the hard way. So I got a burnout because I was trying to please everything and trying to do it all by myself. I wasn't able to say I can't do this or I can't do it alone. I couldn't say that. I couldn't get it out of my mouth until I had to. um, so what I've learned from that is that doesn't work, and that it's so tiring to pretend all the time that everything's perfect and to try and meet other people's expectations. Um, and how I work now, a few years later, it's totally different. I just focus on, what is important to me, what I need to feel good, um, yeah, to work in a way that works for me, to do it because I believe in it. And if I post something, let's say on LinkedIn, it doesn't matter if it reaches one person or a million. If I reach one person and change the way they think about work or about how to design their life, that's amazing, right? And if it reaches a lot of people, also cool. But it doesn't have to. I'm not trying to prove anything to anyone anymore. So that's a very freeing mistake. I'm happy I had that mistake. It's very freeing. Yeah.
Yeah, great. So you're also an expert on conscious and regenerative leadership development. So can you tell us a bit what is regenerative leadership development?
Sorry, what is?
Conscious and regenerative leadership development.
Yeah. Yeah. So conscious leadership just means that you're aware of yourself, your strength, your weaknesses, what you bring to the room, the energy you bring into the room. Right? If I'm really stressed and angry and frustrated, that is contagious. Same as if I'm relaxed, calm, focused, that's also contagious. So being aware of the importance of being aware of all the emotions of everyone, that's this conscious leadership, and making decisions that will have positive ripple effects for others and for nature. And that's has some overlap with regenerative leadership. With regenerative leadership, it's about making choices that will benefit the world, that will make the world better. So it's not about sustaining the world as it is, sustainability, but it's about regenerating. How can we actually make it better and create a system that will continue to make itself better? Yeah, and I think that's fascinating how we can work more with nature and be in contact with nature, and there are also principles that you can apply even when your business is not focused towards making nature better. Like, then it can be focused on just making ecosystems better, and a community of people is also an ecosystem. So how can you create systems there that are help itself regrow and evolve and flourish? Yeah.
Great. So there is a comment. So one of our audience asked you a question, which is, what are the skill sets for youths to emerge as a great leader?
Yeah, great question. Tough one, I think, because there is so much expected of us nowadays, right? And especially young generation have a lot of problems on their plate as well, a lot of challenges on their plate. I think what makes a great leader great in this time and age is what someone who can who's connected to the heart, so who can really act from the heart, not from the head and all rational, but really be in touch with themselves and with everything around them, and focused. I think focus is really one of the biggest challenges in our time, because of social media, because there's so many distractions and so many problems going on. And if you can find time each day to calm down, to meditate, to work focused with undisturbed, to create time that's undisturbed, I think that is very important for leaders to work on the right things in a good way, as well as to solve difficult problems and to stay centered to themselves and their mission. Yeah.
Cool. So you also teach entrepreneurship in a university, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So the burning question from our community or our side is, what do you predict will happen? Like in the next 5 to 10 years in the field of entrepreneurship?
Yeah, interesting question. I think a lot is happening there. Like before, it was quite expensive to set up a company and build a team and everything. Nowadays, it's so cool how many online tools, and often also for free or not very costly, tools you can use that you can actually have as if you have a whole team around you while you're just a one-man show or a few people. I think that's really cool because that means you need less money to set up a company and to reach a lot of people or to get going. Um, for example, building a website, like you used to really need multiple people to build it, to design it, and to the branding. And of course, it's good to have expertise on that. There are people who are experts in that. But at the starting point for as an entrepreneur, that was often the bottleneck, that you don't have these resources available to you. But nowadays, you can use Wix, you can use Canva, you can use so many online tools to start your business. I think that's really cool. And with social media, you can reach so many people in such creative ways. So I think that's going to be a really interesting field and going to open up a lot of opportunities for more entrepreneurs to enter the field. Yeah,
So,
without having funding and all this stuff.
right. And how did you use your experience to influence your decision making?
What do you mean?
So,
Like,
like when you have to take any decision
yeah,
and your experience,
yeah, yeah,
how did
yeah.
it help? Your experience help
Oh,
or influence you to take in the process of decision making?
yeah, yeah. It's something that, I mean, Ellen and I are really proud of. We practice what we preach. We practice daily what we preach. But it's also a very good reminder, because we are teaching this. Like, I have to do this for myself, otherwise it's just full of shit, right? I don't know if I can say that, but okay. So what I do to make tough decisions is either I take a nap, go for a walk or run. I love thinking about problems, like or solving a problem and going for a run. I sit still and meditate. I sometimes write down, okay, what's important to me? Where do I want to be in 5 years? Is this gonna bring me closer to that, or is it just distraction, right? So that's I think what I do to make tough decisions. And sometimes when I don't know, I just think, like, okay, it doesn't have to be perfect. Just choose one thing. Just choose. And just start. Uh, yeah. And my grandfather had a trick. I don't know. Maybe it's nice to share.
Sure.
So he would, if I would have to make a tough decision as a kid, tough decisions, but, and then he would have a coin and say, okay, which you give something to each side of the coin, and then he would flip it and say, okay, this one, is it for you? Now, how does it make you feel? Are you happy, relieved that this option came up, or you actually regretted and wanted the other one? Because then you know what you really wanted. So I still apply that sometimes when I don't know.
Yeah, people have like different ways. So the good thing is, like the way you are sharing your stories is your facial expressions. You're so relaxed and jolly minded through your,
Yeah,
like the way you are sharing your stories. So
yeah,
how well have you maintained a positive work-life balance?
yeah. Well, for me, this part, what I said before, that not having to pretend and not having to be perfect, and I can just express myself and not think about how I'm expressing. That's been very freeing and has made me also a lot happier sharing. Because before, maybe I would be more stressed about it. So not worrying too much about other people. And I like to feed my joy daily, because people see me as like a happy person, and I am, but it's because I feed my joy daily. like I know me, and I'm a fiery type, so I can be very excited about something, but also very frustrated and angry and just resentful and you know. So I know I have to sleep enough to stay nice, and exercise. I need to move to feel good, and have some time to meditate so I don't start believing my own thoughts. That's very important for me. And just make time daily for things that bring me joy. So I like to be outside, go for walks. I like to, go with my partner, go on trips just around the area, go for nice hikes or surf or play with the cats, lie in the grass, enjoy the nature. Just that brings me a lot of joy, as well as interactions like this and like with people, and I like that a lot. So,
Great. It's a very healthy lifestyle. So when you work with a team, sometimes conflict arises. So how do
yeah,
you resolve, uh, conflict within a team?
yeah, yeah. Good question. So conflicts are interesting, right? They are. Um, it's actually a good thing when there is conflict. If there would not be conflict, then probably there's something wrong, but it's not being said, and that's worse than something being wrong, but it's being said. So when there's a conflict, I think the most important you can do for your team is to make sure everybody feels heard and understood. So to be together, create a safe space where you say, okay, now throw it out, just be open, be totally honest. And we all agree we're not going to take things personal, we're not going to attack what someone says, we're just going to ask clarifying questions until everybody at this table feels understood and heard. That's it. And it's super valuable. You'll see that you'll start, when there is a conflict, be like, ah, nice, this is going to give us a lot of insight, because it gives a lot of insights for growth. And I think in our society, we say, there shouldn't be any conflict. I think it only gets difficult when we take conflict personal.
Yeah.
But when we agree on it, we don't, and just ask questions, apply these dialogue techniques that we also teach at the On Purpose Studio. It's it's a really effective way to solve conflict. Yeah.
Great. So, Caroline, we are, we have time limitations. So, almost at the end of the session, there's a lot of things to discuss. It would take hours because expert like you, there's so many things to learn. But, we will, try in future to, do separate things if it is common with us. So, the most, important question of our webinar is,
Yeah.
how do you see, most of our audience, they are undergrad students. So what do you think about the future skills needed for the youths to excel in their field, whether to explore, if they want to explore professional career, or if someone wants to be an entrepreneur, what skills they should develop before going for that?
Mm. I don't know if it's specific skill, but something I would invite people to work on if they don't do it already is to get really clear on what's the dream you have for yourself. What do you want? How do you want to feel? Um, what kind of meaning do you want to add in this world? It doesn't have to be this one purpose, but just for where you are now, what that is, get that really clear. And then on the other hand, get really clear how you're in your own way. How are you holding yourself back? Is there resistance? Is there fear, doubt? Um, is there apathy that you're like, I don't care? Whatever that ego mode is that you get into, and that self-talk that you talk yourself out of the things that are important to you, to make time to work on that and to heal and unlearn those patterns, so you can live, as free and fast as you possibly can. um, because it's so cliche, but we're the only ones holding ourselves back, and it's just good to the earlier you start with that, the better, right? I mean, I started with that mid 20s, and the past generation often started with that when they were 40 or 50. And how cool if the young generation already starts on when they're 18 to heal the stuff that's holding them back. Yeah.
Great. I mean, it's very really wonderful. I mean, the thing is, like you believe what you're saying, and you
Mm.
for your facial expression, it is very clear, and that is a very important thing. If people practice these things, like they will get the result or outcome for sure.
Mm.
So, Caroline, thank you so much for your time and insightful session. It's although it's short, it could be long, but uh, we believe that our audience they have learned a lot because we try to keep it short in a brief way so that they will take the gist or gist of the session. So thank you so much for your time and wish you all the best what you're doing. And we believe that our audience what they have uh, uh, watched and who are going to watch it later, they will practice what you have shared with us. Otherwise,
Yeah.
if they just watch it, they will not learn or they will not get the benefit out of it.
Absolutely, yeah. You need to do it, right? To practice it. And thanks so much for this conversation. And I hope it may inspire some people. And if people want more of this and more reminders of living and leading on purpose, be sure to follow me on LinkedIn. I share a lot of stories there, or join one of our online programs like the Design Your Day to get your day set up to be focused and focused on what's important to you.
Great. So, Caroline, have a good day.
Thank you. You too, Web, and see you soon.
Yeah. Thank you.